Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another Crafty Simulations video. In today's video I learned to fly a glider. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong with me in an aircraft that doesn't have an engine? So, as I said in the intro, today we're actually looking at a glider. Now, I have covered, let's see now, we've covered mostly general aviation aircraft, general aviation helicopters. We've covered military helicopters, fast jets, bombers, World War II iconic aircraft. Never featured a glider, which I don't think I have, but I've had it in the sim here for a while. So today we've got the Gotfriends Discus 2C, and I am going to try and fly this thing. Now, I've seen gliders before in simulators, and they've never really occupied any kind of intelligence with me. I like aviation in the simulation, but gliders just don't really do it for me. It wasn't until I actually tried this in the flight sim in 2024, and actually it's so relaxing. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's the fact there's no sounds, or no engine sounds. Maybe it's because you are literally free as a bird to do whatever you want for as long as you can, as long as there's some wind and that sort of stuff. But I've had some good fun in this Discus 2C. So I thought, bring it out to the channel. It's sort of like general aviation. A lot of pilots start their first journey or first part of their journey in aviation in a glider. This is also the case of the military. A lot of the times, the first aircraft of sorts that a cadet will get hold of is a military glider, and there's not really much difference between a military glider and what we have today. So I have decided to come to my local glider place, which is Kirton in Lincolnshire. I know there's probably other glider places all over Lincolnshire, but I think there's one in Nottingham. It's not a million miles away from me, but I know for a fact that this is a glider place. Been past it a few times, and I thought, what the heck, brilliant place to try it from. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to review the Discus 2C. We're going to go for a flight in it anyway. There isn't really much to review because there isn't really much of an aircraft. But what is here is actually really well done. It's exactly what I expect a glider to look like. I mean, it is a composite, I would imagine, plastic, for the layman's anyway, design. It's very, very simple. It has a folding undercarriage, single wheel. Very long wings, you'll see this, or very wide wings I should say. This is obviously because it is a glider. It has no form of lift other than what comes from its wings. So it has to have extremely wide wings. Now there are gliders out there, including in the package with the Discus 2C, that have an engine which is put in here somewhere. Now we won't be reviewing that one today, but if this video does really well and anyone's interested in it, I will do a video of the Discus 2C FES, I think it is. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's the one with the engine. It's roughly the same. The engine's not really there to fly the aircraft. You can't take off with the engine. It's not that sort of power. What it is if you are in the air and you run out of currents or wind or anything like that, you have the ability to at least get yourself to another part of the airspace where there may be some wind. Because while you're flying a glider, you are solely interested in the wind. So we'll move over to the inside of this thing. Now, this is where my technology level on gliders does get a little bit confusing, really, because I don't understand everything about this thing, if I'm perfectly honest. You'd think it's a glider. There's no engine, there's no fuel, there's no anything like that. It's very, very simple. Far from it. So, moving over to the cockpit, we do have some rudimentary instrumentation. Some instrumentation that is very important to glider pilots, but also other instrumentation that is obviously what we see in aviation today. So we have a compass. We do have comms, actually, weirdly. So we have a COM 1, which we won't be using. We have an accelerometer, an increase and decrease in altitude by this. We have our speed. So we'll be looking for somewhere around in the green. I mean, if you get down to 100 knots in a glider, you're doing quite well. But usually my flying technique usually gets me around here somewhere. This noisy bugger is basically the same as that, only it's an audible version. So you're going to hear a lot of beeping and a lot of sounds that are translating what the aircraft and sensors can feel in relation to the wind and your increasing or decreasing of altitude. Talking of altitude, we do have an altimeter here. I'll be honest, no idea what that is. We do have a battery fuse, which does work. We have a navigation, probably a navigation light. This doohickey here is a multi-page thing for a map and your launch system. Now, at the moment, we are connected to a line, and when you're setting this aircraft up, you do have multiple options on how to chuck this thing off the field. So you do have what we've got at the moment, which is there's a great big winch doohickey right down there on the other side of the hill, and that's what's going to pull us into the air. And you can set the altitude and the speed and all that sort of thing in that little menu I will show you in a minute. We also have aircraft to tow us off. I think you can do this with multiplayer as well, so you can have a real life buddy of yours in a Cessna connect you up and drag you off, and you can launch yourself and do all that sort of good stuff. But we can also let the AI do that. Haven't had much luck with the AI, if I'm honest, but the winch works well. We do have our usual stick arrangement. Click on this. We do have a transponder, because again, communications. We have a master battery switch under a toggle switch, and I believe that's the brake switch. And this is the winch release. Obviously, we can control the release of the winch. I believe it will cut off at the altitude or speed, the altitude, yes, that we set, but we can also cut it off whenever we like. This is a ballast system, so sort of like your trim. Nothing to do with going left or right, but more the case of moving ballast forward and aft of the aircraft's fuselage and therefore making it easy to fly. Well, that's the theory. Basically, that's about it. I mean, for a very simple... I say simple. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from glider pilots, okay? You like these things, they're amazing. This, by Godfriends, actually is really, really good. I like this. You get a sense of the fabric, a sense of the carbon fibre on the inside of this thing. Obviously, lightness is key to a glider. You don't want something too heavy or it ain't going to glide. Good sense of metal work to hang on to. We do have communications if you wish to talk to anyone. Obviously, we won't be. We don't have anything on the log. We do have some ballast release, which I think is water, which is stored in the wings. Yes, it is. So my aircraft has now taken a wee. This doohickey as well, I think, is to do with the weather and such things. So we're going to fly towards weather. It will give us a warning. I think it also is highly annoying, and it also has a very audible warning, which... Is it going to start beeping? There we go. It starts beeping away to its heart's content because we're on the ground. So I'm going to shut that off because it gets annoying. This thing here, the most simplest piece of instrumentation we have. And also one of the most important, because it tells you which way the wind is going as you are flying. So at the moment, the wind is coming off from this direction. And this will move around. And believe it or not, you do pay attention a lot to what this is doing. So... I think we've gone through most of it. I've realised, oh yes, there's Larry. Larry's the side of the wing. He's holding us up really because you don't want to be dragged with one of your wings on the floor. We do have air brakes. Yes, we do have air brakes. I actually connect my joystick because I've completely forgotten about it. Only integrally important. Right, so we do have a joystick. If I remember correctly, there we go. We do have spoilers, and they are vicious. Obviously, really of any use if you are starting to speed in this thing, if you want to descend altitude. Trust me, these spoilers kick in, you will be descending. But very useful on landing. We do have, like I say, brakes, because this glider does like to glide and travel down the grass and all sorts. It does take a while to slow it down. So, let's get this thing started, shall we? So, let's see what's what. So let's get Trackir up and running and centralised. So let's get that set. This is the quick launch system. Let's just get me comfortable, just in case. I'm fairly certain I know what I'm doing. I'll turn that back on, so I do apologise for the beeping. I think we can turn that... Oh, we can turn that down. I just thought that was connected to that. Okie dokie. Right, Connect. I told you, the aliens started talking to me? No idea. Right, so we're going to go for 2,000 meters. Thank you very much. And 150 kilometers per hour. Right, so Larry is... Look the right direction, Larry. You've got one job to do, boy. Right, is that our line? Why is there a line connected? Why have I got a line connected that way? That's intriguing. Right, okay, let's just hope that's not connected to anything important. So... Ah, boy. Oh, good. Yep. Gear is up, and now we follow this track all the way up. Over halfway. It's a rather steep pull-up. And it helps if I... So it was the one. That was actually a release. Cable release there. My mistake. Right, and that tone is what we're going to hear a lot of. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Gliding. Gold. Certainly a lovely day for it. Got rainstorms and whatnot flying through. At the moment in the UK, it's a bloody heat wave almost. It's so relaxing, so peaceful. Just enjoyed it. It's just... I think it could literally be the most relaxing form of aviation that I've come up with. Just hear nothing. I think that's a weather warning beeping thing. I'm fairly certain. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Was a way of zooming this out. I've forgotten what it is. There it is. So according to our little map here, it even tells us the wind is blowing this way at 8 knots. Apparently. We are struggling here a little bit to... we are steadily descending. 1.6 meters, I think, a second. I think. Can't remember. And it's the one thing about gliders, you can take off, and this is in reality as well, you could take off and the conditions are just simply not there. So relaxing. always try to keep an eye out where my runway is, because at any point we are going to be making an approach. But I've got to say, in flight sims, we've had, like I said, we've had gliders before. And short of 2024 and 2020, I mean, the Discus 2 here is available for 2020. And in FSX and P3D days, the flight sims didn't really have the technology to simulate gliding. And I think we've got as realistic as we can possibly get now with gliding in simulation. It's weird, but I do generally think that's the case. If you're getting a little bit stressed or anything with flying, I mean, even when I'm flying Cessnas and Pipers and whatnot, there are times you're sitting there and you're doing all your checks and you're pressing all your buttons, and there's a lot of things you have to do before you can get into the air. It's a stressful time. I hate to think what it's like when you're flying these airliners with all their options, their bells and whistles. But this is just completely different. Now, obviously, you are at the mercy of the weather. You can set the weather, obviously, to be as windy as you want. And obviously, wind and updrafts, I think they call it. Uplifts off hills. I mean, we ain't got any hills. We're Lincoln's, quite out loud. Lincolnshire's flat. But it is something that you can set up and have a very enjoyable time. It's a quick flight. Obviously, like I said, there's the Discus 2C that has the engine in it, so that would extend your flying time. But I've been able to fly from here, in Kirton and Lindsey, over to RAF Waddington. I've managed to fly that far, and I flew back and landed at Scampton, weirdly. But I think our flight is getting a little bit on the slow and low side now, so start to think about landing. You only have one chance of landing in a glider, so you've got to make it right. So we've got our spoilers, they're still tucked away. We know where the runway is, so we can make a right-hand circle. I'm going to put the gear down. Good audio for a glider with no engine. Good audio. So any kind of decrease in altitude, we will be speeding up, but we can sort that out with our spoilers. Runway's back there. Quick deployment to the spoilers, and that's how quick it slows you down. Yes, I know the ground's coming up. We'll turn that off. That's going to get annoying. I know the ground's coming up and landing. It usually goes hand in hand. Spoilers in, and we're down. Not touching the brakes. One wing's going to drop. I think it's going to be the left wing. Touchdown! The quickest flight Crafty Simulations has ever done. And weirdly, I've landed with no engine, and it's actually done on purpose. So there we are. The Discus 2C. You know, I don't want to mock this. I don't want to mock this. It's a flight simulator product. Got friends have come up with it. They've come up with some great aircraft in the past. But I didn't really think that a glider could be so much fun. And it is. I mean, this flight's been very quiet and very quick. Just didn't get the wind. But in certain other circumstances, I mean, I've seen videos of these things where there's mountains and whatnot in America, and the uplift you get off those, the flying you can do, you can just go for miles in these things. Obviously, there is a Discus 2C with the engine, which, again, if you're interested in seeing that, and you want me to have another crack at this, I will bring out the glider with the engine. But other than that, it's a really, really good product. And I think it's a different style of aviation in simulation. Like I said, we've done aircraft, we've done fast jets, we've done general aviation, we've done attack helicopters, we've done, 21st century F-22 Raptor all the way down to the Spitfire, and pretty much everything in between. This is something that I think is different in flight simulation. It doesn't feature too much, but it is a great way of relaxing in the sim. It is a brilliant little product. I love it. I really do. It gets a pass from me, a solid pass. It's a great little aircraft. So I'll drop a link below where you can purchase it. The scenery of which we have been at is actually with the sim. Actually, this is perfectly normal Kirton scenery. And I do believe flightsim.to used to have this scenery, but I think it was for FS 2020. Sure, it was for 2020. I don't know if it was compatible with 2024. Haven't tried it. I'll give it a whirl. If you're interested in seeing the glider with the engine, I'll see if I can get the proper Kirton and Lindsay or more realistic scenery. But to be honest with you, that looks pretty much what Kirton looks like anyway. Gliders parked up here, other gliders here, and hangar buildings. There's not much left here at RAF Kirton. So anyway, if you've got any questions or comments about today's long, wonderful flight by me in a glider, please bang them below. And I shall see you in a future Microsoft Flight Simulator video very, very soon.